I was 21 then, living alone in my parents' old farmhouse in the outskirts of Kansas. They'd passed a few years earlier, and the place hadn't felt like home since. That night, the local news had warned of a supercell. Winds strong enough to tear rooftops, hail the size of marbles. But I didn't leave. I'd grown up around storms. They were part of life here. The power went out around 8:30. The house sank into darkness, save for the flashes of lightning crawling through the windows like veins of light. I lit a few candles, poured myself coffee, and sat by the living room window, watching the storm rage over the cornfields. At first it was beautiful, raw, wild, alive. Then something changed. Every time the lightning flashed, I started to notice a shape in the field. At first it looked like a scarecrow, tall, still, hunched, a silhouette against the glowing rain, but lightning flickers fast, 1 second here, 1 second gone. The first few flashes I told myself it was my imagination, but then the storm brightened, a white-hot flash that lasted long enough for me to see it move. The figure turned, not walked, not stepped, turned like it was pivoting toward me. My stomach dropped. I froze by the window, rain pelting the glass so loud it almost drowned my heartbeat. The next flash came, and the figure was gone. I locked the doors, every single one. The air inside the house felt wrong, thick, humming, like the static before lightning strikes. When I reached for my phone, the screen was dead, not out of battery, just black. I remember whispering to myself, "It's just a power surge." "It's fine." Then a blinding light filled the living room, lightning right outside the window. And for less than a heartbeat, I saw it again, that shape. Closer pressed against the glass. Its eyes weren't glowing, they were reflecting the lightning, like two mirrors catching light and throwing it back at me. The house went silent after that. No wind, no thunder, just the soft sound of dripping water from somewhere inside. Then came the knocks, 3 of them. Slow, deliberate. I froze, staring at the front door. Through the frosted glass, I could see the faint outline of a hand. Pale, trembling, wet. I wanted to shout, but my throat locked. Then, as I blinked, another flash of lightning filled the hallway, and the silhouette was gone. But when the thunder followed, the house shook so violently that every light flickered back to life for a moment, and I saw wet footprints on the floor, leading from the door to the window where I'd been sitting. The storm lasted until morning. When I finally dared to look outside, the fields were torn apart, fences ripped, trees split, half the barn gone. But in the center of the field there was a single black circle, a scorch mark. I went out there with shaking hands and found something buried in the mud, a piece of metal melted and twisted, like part of a weather vane, but older. Engraved into it, faint but visible, was my family name. I never told anyone what I saw. But even now, whenever a thunderstorm rolls in, I still see those flashes. And sometimes, when lightning strikes close, for a second I see that reflection in the window again. Only this time, it's smiling. Some storms don't end when the rain stops. Some wait for you to remember them. I was an overnight radio operator for a rural county weather station, basically the guy who stays awake during storms so everyone else can sleep. The building was small, 1 floor, surrounded by pine forest on all sides. Most nights were dead quiet, but on that night, the barometer started falling faster than I'd ever seen. The radar showed a line of red stretching for miles, a storm front shaped like a claw reaching over our town. Lightning started hitting the ridge every few seconds. The air smelled like metal, the kind of smell you taste before a big strike. I checked the frequencies, emergency band, weather band, CB channels, all hissing static. Then, at exactly 1:37 a.m., the static shifted. SFX, static, from the radio, faint whisper emerging under it. It began as a hum, a deep pulsing noise that rose and fell like breathing. Then, words started forming. Voice, distorted, overlapping with thunder. "Daniel? Do you hear me?" My blood froze. That's my name. But there was no one else on duty, not for miles. I leaned close to the receiver. The voice was beneath the thunder, like it was being carried by the lightning strikes, each flash making the signal louder. "Daniel, open the door." The sound cracked, warped, and fell back into static. I sat there for a full minute, too scared to move. Then I noticed something. The storm map on my monitor had changed. The center of the lightning cluster. It was directly over our station. I got up, trying to calm myself. Maybe it was feedback, I told myself. A glitch. I walked into the hallway toward the backup generator panel. That's when every light went out. The whole building plunged into blackness. Outside, the thunder cracked again, closer, sharper, and for a split second, in the flicker of lightning through the windows, I saw something, a person, standing inside the building. Their outline was thin, soaked, hair hanging down their face. They looked like they were dripping, but the floor beneath them stayed dry. When the next flash came, they were gone. I ran back into the main room, grabbed the radio mic, and tried to reach emergency dispatch. Nothing but static. Then I heard it again, the whisper, but now it wasn't coming from the radio. Voice, close, behind him. "Daniel, please let me in." I turned toward the sound. The front door, heavy steel with a small reinforced glass pane, was vibrating like something outside was pressing against it. Through the flashes of lightning, I saw a figure on the other side, pale, with dark, blurred eyes. They raised their hand slowly and their mouth moved, but the voice didn't match the movement. The voice came from everywhere, all around me. Voice echoing. "You left me out here." I stepped closer to the glass, and that's when I recognized her face, my sister Lena. She'd been dead for 4 years. The radio blared, dozens of voices now, layered over each other, screaming, crying, laughing. Each lightning strike made them louder. It sounded like every channel was broadcasting the same storm, but from different times. "You were supposed to come back for me. It's still raining." "Don't turn off the light." I clamped my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The voices weren't coming from the speakers anymore. They were inside the walls, inside the thunder. Then everything went white. When I woke up, it was daylight. The station was silent. The power was back. My clock read 7:12 a.m. 6 hours had passed. On the monitors, the radar loop was frozen, still showing the last lightning strike over the station. When I stepped outside, I saw footprints in the mud leading up to the door. Bare footprints. And next to them, pressed into the dirt, was something small and metallic. A locket. I opened it. Inside was a faded photo of me and Lena, taken when we were kids. The back of the locket was engraved with words so faint I almost missed them. "It's still raining." I don't work there anymore. I left that town and never looked back. But sometimes, when a storm rolls in and I turn on the radio, I still hear static, and beneath it, someone whispering my name. "Daniel, open the door." One distant thunderclap, then silence. Evan was a forest ranger. He'd been stationed in the northern Cascades for nearly a decade. He loved storms, said they made him feel connected to nature. That changed one October night. A line of thunderstorms had moved across the ridge, knocking out power across 3 counties. He volunteered to stay in the old Firewatch cabin, a place built in the 1940s, halfway up the mountain. The cabin had no phone line, just a 2-way radio, a kerosene lamp, and a logbook every ranger signed at the end of their shift. When he signed in that night, the page before his was dated 37 years ago, and the name written there had been crossed out in red pencil. He said the storm came fast, sheets of rain hammering the windows, lightning turning the world outside white every few seconds. The radio crackled once, then died completely. That wasn't unusual up there, but the sound that replaced it was. From under the floorboards came a hum, faint, rhythmic, almost like a voice. He thought it was wind until it formed words. "Help me." He froze. There shouldn't have been anyone out there, not in that weather. He lifted the trapdoor leading to the crawl space beneath the cabin. The light from his lantern fell into darkness. Nothing, no movement, just wet earth, and the echo of rain above. He closed it. But the voice didn't stop. It just changed direction. Now it was coming from the walls. Evan tried to distract himself. He poured coffee, sat by the window, and watched the trees thrash in the wind. But with every lightning flash, the forest looked different. Branches bent at wrong angles, shadows moved like bodies. Then one flash revealed something that made him drop his cup. There was a man standing at the tree line, or what looked like one. The next flash showed nothing, the next one closer, and the next at the window. A hand slapped against the glass. Evan jumped back, knocking over the lamp. The cabin went black. Then came the scream. Not from outside, from the cabin itself. The walls groaned, the beams shook, and a sound tore through the wood like it was alive. It wasn't human. It was like every plank and nail was crying out. He ran for the door, but it wouldn't open. Lightning struck so close that the air glowed white, and in that light he saw faces in the wood grain, mouths open, eyes carved in pain, screaming with the storm. When search teams reached the cabin 2 days later, they found the door half open and the place reeking of ozone and smoke. Evan wasn't there. Only his radio was, half melted, still hissing faint static. They found his field recorder on the table. The tape was warped from the humidity, but the first few minutes were clear. The storm's intensifying. Can't reach base. Something's on the floor. No, it's in the walls. I can hear... Pause. Oh my God, it's breathing. Then silence. Then a single word whispered so close to the mic it nearly clips the audio. Listen. A sound followed, something long and deep, like air being forced through wood. Then, screaming. The cabin, the storm, everything. When the recording ends, you can still hear the echo of that voice, like it's still inside the tape. The department logged it as a lightning accident, possible structural collapse. But the logbook from that night was missing. 3 weeks later, a hiker found a charred piece of paper washed up in the creek, miles down the mountain. It was the missing log page. The last entry, written in a shaky hand, read, "It's in the woods." Don't let it rain inside. I visited that cabin last year. They rebuilt it as a tourist lookout now. Bright paint, solar panels, and a nice little sign that says Historic Ranger Station. But when you step inside, the floor still creaks in the same rhythm Evan described. And if it's raining, you can hear it. Not the storm, not the wind, something beneath it. A low hum, almost like the cabin breathing. The night I recorded this story, a thunderstorm rolled in again. I was sitting by my window, writing everything down, when the lights flickered. For a moment I saw my reflection in the glass, but there was someone else standing behind me. I turned. Nothing. Then, from somewhere deep in the walls, I heard it. "Help me." The same words my uncle heard, the same tone, the same timing. Lightning flashed again, and for an instant I swear I saw his face reflected in the window, mouth open, screaming. Then thunder hit, so loud it shook the house. And when I looked back, the reflection was smiling. Some say storms cleanse the world. Others say they remember. But I know now, the sky isn't just thunder, it speaks. And sometimes, it's calling you by name.